Honorable Member, Castries Southeast.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to take part in this debate a bit reluctantly, but I must, in any case, Mr. Speaker, say that in no uncertain terms I do not support this motion being made by the leader of the opposition. Mr. Speaker, it appears to me that the way the opposition used to run the government, that they believe today that it's the same style of leadership that exists in the United Workers' Party. You see, there was a schoolmaster mentality in the Labour Party government where one man made all of the decisions. Mr. Speaker, and no wonder the motion would come to the House, a motion on the Prime Minister. This government, this cabinet takes collective responsibility for the decisions being made in governance in this country. It ain't no one man running this country. We are all elected members, and we have a voice in the cabinet, unlike what used to happen, Mr. Speaker, where one man made all the decisions and everybody else just sat there. So apparently the leader of the opposition thinks that what he has endured for the last 15 years in government is what is happening in the United Workers' Party. But I have news for you. That does not happen in the United Workers' Party. We all have a voice. And we all have a say. And we do not have a dictator as a prime minister. We have a prime minister who is consensus driven. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, I take serious objection to a number of things in this resolution. Because, Mr. Speaker, you rule that the resolution is okay. It's your house. I abide by this. Under normal circumstances, I would not debate anything there because it is not worth a debate, Mr. Speaker. It is not worth the debate. Because as I go through this, every time I read a motion in this honorable house, Mr. Speaker, I read motions on money bills and various other, and when the various bills that we are going to deal with, it says whereas, I expect whereas to be followed by a statement of fact, a statement that is substantiated by the realities of what is there. Now, the leader of the opposition may have the facts, according to him, but it's not there. It's not there for me to make a determination. And so, Mr. Speaker, what I see in this motion is a lot of suppositions.
Innuendo.
A lot of issues that you have to ask, who determines? So if I read, and whereas the Prime Minister has recklessly and irresponsibly allowed the economy to descend into unsustainable deficits and to incur new debt to finance such deficits. Who determines what is unsustainable? The leader of the opposition is supposed to be the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee of the Parliament of St. Lucia. How many meetings has he called? If you are so interested in the management of how the economy is functioning, you don't have to write this to come in and to come and say, look here.
Mr. Speaker, the
The minister is misleading the House.
Are you standing on the point of...
On a point of order. The Public Accounts Committee has nothing to do with deficits. It has nothing to do with managing the economy. The Public Accounts Committee is a function of the Parliament, and it only deals with reports that come to it from Parliament. It has nothing to do with managing the economy. Don't mislead the House, please.
Mr. Speaker, I've served on the Public Accounts Committee. I've been there. And I know the work of the Public Accounts Committee. You review the reports on the performance of the government as far as the management of the economy. The reports come to the committee, and you bring in all the people from the audit department and anybody you need to question about anything that transpires as far as the accounts of the country is concerned. So, but it is when you audit things, you pick up what is there. So if you need to know. So, Mr. Speaker, people must not run away from their responsibilities and come and use the Honorable House for politics. Because this is politics. Yeah, I'm responding to you. If you come with politics, rest assured I will respond to the politics. So, Mr. Speaker, who says that it is unsustainable? Who run the largest deficits in government in this country? Almost every budget run by the Labour Party was a deficit budget. And the records are there to show. Hansard will show, the Economic and Social Review will show how many deficit budgets was run by the previous government, of which the leader of the opposition was a member and a self-proclaimed deputy prime minister. But you see, Mr. Speaker, they always invent things to give themselves titles that they have not earned.
The minister is misleading the House. I was not self-proclaimed. I had a seal from the Governor General. So I wasn't self-proclaimed. You're misleading the House. I never proclaimed myself. I was appointed by the Governor General. I have a seal to show you. I can show it to you tomorrow, or now if you give me time. You just come in and you're misleading the House.
Very well. You know, he's right on how he became minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's just like this motion. I want them to show me where in the Constitution that there is a position of deputy prime minister in this country. I want them to...
On a point of order, where in the Constitution is the position of Minister of Agriculture?
Mr. Speaker...
Honorable members, I'm not going to attend this back and forth every time a statement is made that we shall have a back and forth every single minute. So let's keep ourselves under control. Honorable member, Castries Southeast, please proceed.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I can well understand why this motion is coming to the House. Because the leader of the opposition has now maneuvered his way through to become leader of the opposition. And so, he was, whether he was proclaimed or however he became deputy prime minister, so he's trying to find a shortcut to become prime minister. That's what I see that's happening here. A shortcut to become prime minister. You're not even the leader, you want to be prime minister. Mr. Speaker, and whereas, contrary to the assertion by the Prime Minister that the reduction of VAT to 12.5% would result in reduction of prices of grocery items, prices continue to rise uncontrollably. Mr. Speaker, when a Chasney owned the supermarkets in St. Lucia, what did they say? They said that, oh, they were increasing the prices on people. So now that a Chasney does not own the supermarkets, so who's increasing the prices? And he made reference this morning, Mr. Speaker, to lentils. Lentils is in the basket that does not attract VAT. But you see, that is what they come to this honorable house and do. The price went up and you said VAT was the cause why the price went up. I'm just telling you, lentils does not attract VAT. You see, Mr. Speaker, that is the gamesmanship that comes into this house. That they try to do things and they try to say things to mislead people and to scare people and to make them believe that the government has some control over the price of commodities. You know what we had the price control on? And I heard them, they talk a lot about the fuel. And we promise this about fuel and that about fuel. Well, tell them, Mr. Speaker, for me, that the highest price of fuel ever in this country was under the watch of the St. Lucia Labour Party when a gallon of gas was $16.85 under the watch of the St. Lucia Labour Party. And when gas was $147 US a barrel, it was $12.75 under the United Workers' Party. You want to come and talk about fishermen, and you want to talk about farmers and what they paid? So compare the price today, $13.95 with $16.85, and tell me, at what point did the fishermen pay the highest price for fuel? Member for Viewfort North. You see, Mr. Speaker, members cannot come to this honorable house and try to use the house to play politics and then to try and get away with it. Because, Mr. Speaker, and whereas the Prime Minister has been reckless with the financial resources of the country, evidenced by granting direct purchase to the Packer Company. They said they did not mention the company this morning, Mr. Speaker. He said he did not say any name. But look at it right there, Mr. Speaker. So who determines what is reckless? The leader of the opposition? Where's the evidence to back up his recklessness? Let me tell you about reckless and squandering. Because if that's the way you want to debate, Mr. Speaker, that's how we're going to debate. Office of the Audit, Director of Audit of St. Lucia. Special Audit Report of the Ministry of Communications, Works, Transport and Public Utilities, East Coast Road Project, an RDP project, Road Development Project. You want to talk about squandering resources of this country? You know what the report says, Mr. Speaker? On page 37, and we're talking about squandering money, and we're talking about vote of no confidence. The gentlemen, the honorable members on this side can bring a vote of no confidence against Prime Minister Alan Chasney, who has been one of the best leaders in this country. Let me tell you, RDP 001002, Lagan, was the contractor. The contract agreement, and Mr. Speaker, let me pause here to say, when you try to make people believe that because projects go out to tender, that is what protects the people of St. Lucia. This project went out to tender. The Southwest Coast Road. The contract amount was $43,750,000. You know what was the amount paid according to this audit report? $133,502,577.81. A difference of $89,752,577.81. You talk about squandering money. You want to talk about because projects go out for tender, that is going to protect the people of St. Lucia? The only protection that the people of St. Lucia have is when they have honorable men of integrity in the government, as you find on this side of the house. This is not found in tenders. You think that's all? That's right. Lindquist, who is the best fraud investigator in the world, could find nothing on me. After you paid him $3 million. And bring the report here. Bring the report here. And I have to deal with that. You talk about squandering. I will show you how much money was paid to him. I have all the receipts from Treasury. Yes. RDP 003, CCI. You talk about friends, family, and foreigners. Lagan was a foreigner. I can tell you the other 3 local companies who tendered on this project, and none of them got it. 2 of them came together and took the government to court because of the way the contract was issued. And what you all did? What did the Labour Party do? You want to talk about victimization? These 2 contractors were cut out completely. Yes, Fresh Start had tendered on that same project. No, on that same project they had tendered. RDP free, CCI, contract amount, $23,515,158.93. You know what the amount paid was, Mr. Speaker? $49,097,319.21. A difference of $25,582,160.28. And Mr. Speaker, I have to endure an entire day in this house listening to these same men who are in government presiding over the affairs of the country when they squandered so much money. I'm supposed to sit here and pretend as if y'all are some saint who landed here and today y'all started governing? You think that's all, Mr. Speaker? You think that's all? RDP Consultancy, DIWI, DIWI, not Rice, DIWI. 7 million, had a contract amount, consultancy alone, $7,402,840.67. You know what the amount paid to DIWI, Mr. Speaker? $21,570,585.78 in consultancy fees, a cost overrun of $14,167,745.11. And the leader of the opposition wants to come and move a vote or a motion of no confidence in a prime minister who has shown the greatest capability in managing the affairs when it comes to the financing of this country. And you are in the house. You are there. It happened under your watch. The member for Viewfort South, the member for Labrie, the member for Viewfort North, all of you are in the house. When these things, these atrocities against the people of St. Lucia took place under your watch, and today y'all come into this house as if y'all are some saint, and you want to question. I want you to challenge a project that has been done under the watch of the United Workers' Party since we came into government that have gone into cost overruns of anything of that magnitude. For that matter, you all invented the word cost overruns. Don't worry. That's your jail. But you want to come out of your jail. That's your jail, opposition. That is where the people sent you.
Honorable Member Castries South, through the chair.
Mr. Speaker, through you.
Mr. Speaker, on the point of order, can I ask that copies be made? I'm not familiar with this
That's
document.
already a document.
But I've never seen it. I've never seen it,
You
Mr.
just
Speaker.
So,
honorable
member, honorable members, I know the hour of the days having an effect.
I just come, I never see it, so can I see it?
But honorable member Castries South, it's a document of the House, and I shall request through me, or we can get it to you.
I don't even know if the honorable member is citing correct figures. I don't even know. The last time we started, you chastised me and said, and I must tell you, Erskine Mays says otherwise, that documents have to be circulated beforehand. I don't even know if he's citing correct figures. I am not familiar with the document, Mr.
I'm not taking issue with what you say, honorable member, okay? I'm just saying that it is a document of the House. I will so ensure that a copy is called.
You want the book, you can have the book.
Honorable Member Castries South. Honorable Member Castries South. Proceed.
I have enough copies. Pass it on to him. Mr. Speaker, I go to the next section. And whereas the Prime Minister, by his amateurish and inept handling, that is judgmental. I mean, how does that make it on a motion in the House? How is that a statement of fact? Huh? That's judgmental. Who are you to pass judgment on people? Bring the facts. Show what he did. That is amateurish. Don't come and say that as if, and I'm supposed to just sit there and just accept that because you said this. You see, it goes on to say, by willful, recklessly, and deliberately stopping all work on the reconstruction of St. Jude Hospital, the Prime Minister has caused further deterioration in the health care service of the people. That's a supposition. That's not a statement of fact. There's nothing to substantiate that, Mr. Speaker. And I can go on. Everything in this resolution, as I go through it line by line, that's a market step resolution, not a parliament or resolution. You know, here another one, Mr. Speaker. Here another one, a classic one. And whereas the Prime Minister has adopted an approach to governance of the country which many think is unstatesmanlike. What is many? What is many? How many is many? By whose determination? Where is the survey that was done? Where's the empirical data that can be presented here to show this honorable House that the many you're talking about is really many? You know, Mr. Speaker, for a seasoned parliamentarian who has been, and you know, Mr. Speaker, sometimes it's good to let these things come through, to show the men who think that they are so bright and they've been there for so long and they know so much, to let that go. And to your 20 years, Kirby, if I go to write something like that after 20 years, I'd rather not be there for 1 year. If that is what I can produce after 20 years in Parliament, I should be ashamed of myself. I would remove myself from the Parliament if after 20 years, that is all the resolution I can bring to the Parliament.
Honorable members, Honorable Member Castries South East. Honorable Member Castries South East. No, you remain standing. I was about to ask you, do you need my protection?
No, I don't need your protection, okay. Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for... You see, Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking about myself. If I write something like that, or I come to this honorable house, and I write that, I would be so disappointed with me. You know, and he describes the Prime Minister as amateurish. Is there a word before amateurish? That's lower than amateurish. This resolution is less than amateurish. It is less. But that's the best he could come with. Even after you send him and fix it, you know, Mr. Speaker. So I can imagine what the first one was like. I can just imagine what the first one was like. If that one is all he could fix to bring to this honorable house. You know, Mr. Speaker, he goes on to say, and whereas the Prime Minister in a deliberate and calculated act, how can the member for Castries East, is he in the Prime Minister's mind? How did he arrive that this is a deliberate act? And here is his conclusion, that removing the subvention caused it to close, caused the National Trust to close the Derek Walcott Square. So why is Pigeon Point still operational? So the National Trust deciding in its list of projects which project it would give priority to, because as government, we have a lot of roads to fix. We cannot fix all the roads. We decide we'll fix this road today and we'll fix another road tomorrow. So you are telling me that because there's not enough money to do what is to be done, so you deliberately did not fix a road? And it's that action that caused the closure of the Derek Walcott House? I mean, how is that possible, Mr. Speaker? That grown men, learned people, those who boast about how long they've been here, how can they write that? Sorry, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Now, let's talk about the dismissal of the nice workers. Now, the member for, maybe even before I went there, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to deal with the member for Dennery North. Dennery North, Mr. Speaker, the member spoke. But all I have to tell the member, when you can account for what transpired with the minister's account and with everything that is still unaccounted for in this, we will have a conversation. But we will have this conversation in due course in this honorable house. Mr. Yes, Richard is your spokesman. Now I heard he lose his voice these days. So you'll figure out what to do. We talk about squandering people's money. Cabinet conclusion number 411 of 2012. Appointment to conduct forensic investigation. Cabinet confirmed the appointment of Mr. Robert Lindquist for the purpose of conducting forensic investigation on behalf of the government of St. Lucia. The Attorney General, after consultation with the Prime Minister, will act on behalf of the government of St. Lucia. So, Mr. Speaker, these are all the receipts in excess of $3 million. Treasury receipts. Somehow it disappeared from the system in the government, in the government system. every phone call, every email, everything that I did is there. Where's the report? Why y'all hiding the report? So that is squandering the people's money. That $3 million, you'll find out who have it, don't worry. I'm not afraid of the Americans. I welcome the Americans. I welcome the Americans. So, Mr. Speaker, as we go on, you know, they talk about we remove the subvention from the National Trust because they did not give us permission for the Dolphin Park. And the same government gave permission for a company to establish a dolphin park at Pigeon Point. You all forget that already? The cabinet conclusion is there. You want me to name the company? I wouldn't name the company. Mr. Speaker, the DSH project, which they have made a whole heap of noise about. The DSH project, we come into this. So here's the reasoning. And here's a man, Mr. Speaker, who said that he has spent 25 years in this parliament. And the honorable member for Babono was reading from a letter. First of all, here's what he said. You can never show me that there was any lease arrangement in that. And then he changed. He said it's the government. So tell me something. And I'm trying to understand that, because I'm trying to rationalize that in my own mind. So the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Dr. Kenny Anthony, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Economic Affairs, Planning and Social Security, copied to Peter Foster on page 8. So the government signs a letter and sends it to Robert Ainsworth. And the contents of the letter, it says, during our discussions, you have outlined that you and your partners will purchase the parcel of land that comprise the La Paradis properties at Prale, and thereon create a hotel and residential development second to none seen in this part of the Caribbean. It will include concepts, details in your brochure, inclusive of high-end boutique hotel, residential properties. Development will be in the region of 800 million United States dollars. Now here's where I'm going, Mr. Speaker. These are the persons who tell us that $2 billion Pearl of the Caribbean project is a pie in the sky. That this is you not worth listening to or responding to. So I will not respond to this. So let's do some calculations, Mr. Speaker. 800 million US dollars, eh? You would also acquire by lease or purchase lands primarily in the south of the island, measuring approximately 1,000 acres to construct the manufacturing plant we spoke of. The equipment alone, that is, we're not talking about the price of the land. We're not talking about the building of the factory. The equipment alone to be installed in St. Lucia in the first instance will cost 500 million euros. So if the equipment is going in a factory that's taking 1,000 acres of land, I can imagine that we over $2.5 billion investment. But Mr. Speaker, the construction of the plants will cost an additional equivalent sum in special construction material and process will be included. So that is 500 and 500. That is 1 billion euros and another 800 million. So €1 billion is how many US? So you see, Mr. Speaker, but that's not all. The member for Castries East wants this honorable house to believe that a letterhead of the Prime Minister, I want to ask him, who in Viewfort has 1,000 acres of land to sell to somebody, when almost 10,000 acres of land in the same areas that we are talking about belongs to the government through various agencies, whether Invest St. Lucia, whether National Trust, whether Crown Lands. So I am supposed to believe that because it didn't have the government, so why didn't the man go and negotiate with the landowners? Why is the Prime Minister? Because this letter did not come from him, you know. This letter came from the Prime Minister endorsing the conversation. Oh, now is a letter of comfort. No, I'm not even dealing with the mining rights. Grindberg was not enough. So they had to give this, and altogether, if you read the full contents of this letter, it speaks to more than 4,000 acres of land in St. Lucia going to this one developer. And you know, Mr. Speaker, what is sad about all of this? These same gentlemen are coming to this honorable house and want to call into question what other people are doing. You have no moral authority to guide anybody in this country because your performance has been so lousy over the years in governance. Yes. And when you can produce the Linguist report, you will see what moral authority that I have to speak on this thing. That is when you will see what moral authority that I have. Why are they after the leader of the United Workers' Party? You know, there's a definition for madness. That when you do the same thing all the time and you expect a different result, that's a definition for madness. So, yes, I'm using your same tactics on you now. Definitions. So, Mr. Speaker, in the definition, here's what happened. When they heard the Prime Minister would be becoming the leader of the United Workers' Party, they started their work. They tried everything. It did not work. They attacked him on every platform. They said the election was not Flobo versus Labour. It's Labour versus the Chasnays. It still didn't work. Yes, you all said I'm a Chasnay, I'm the poodle. That's what you all said. But when they talk about other metaphors, it's different because it's some doctor that use it. Because some doctor use a word who think he's smarter than everybody else, but the definitions remain the same. So, what has happened, Mr. Speaker? They attacked. They attacked. One of them, he's my friend. We shake hands, so I know he's not a ghost or a spirit. He said, not over his dead body, and I've seen him, and I've seen Mr. Shasney as the Prime Minister. So sometimes I am wondering whether something is wrong. So Mr. Speaker, they tried all of this in government. They were in government. We were in opposition. They attacked every single day. They lost the elections. The Prime Minister won by one of the largest margins of voter turnout in this country when it comes to the margins of victory. One of the largest. I did not say the largest. Yes. When you won by the largest margin, I help you. Now I'm on the other side.
Honorable Member, Castries Southeast, through me always.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, yes, y'all don't want me now because when y'all offered me a seat to run, I turned it down. Yes. You were not there. Yes. I'm the only person that do it. Is you alone that know who would vote for you on this side. We waited for the vote. You'll see who voted for you. Is you alone that know. So, Mr. Speaker, the attacks, the members opposite was not satisfied with what they do on the platform. They have weekly press conferences. They're not satisfied. They had two talk shows every day. It's Alan Shas, every day. Still not working. You know, they have left out there, Mr. Speaker, and that's why I'm disappointed. And I hope you understand with me, Mr. Speaker. That's why I'm disappointed. You did all of that out there. You got the same result, overwhelming support for the Prime Minister. You still not learning? You come to the Honorable House to get more licks. Huh? Yes, and you'll get more licks. Mr. Speaker, through you. You know, now, Mr. Speaker, based on my definition for madness, is only mad people that will do that. And look at it, Mr. Speaker. We were not even going to respond to them. Two of them said the same stories that they have said all the time. We said, okay, let's stop this. You want to test what support the Prime Minister have? Let's put this thing to a vote. No. You infringing on the rights of the minority. So all of you spoke. When it comes to our turn to speak, you stand in to close the debate. So you're not infringing on the rights of the majority. It's okay. It's okay. You want to close the debate when you want. So, Mr. Speaker, I move on. You accuse the Prime Minister of interfering with the employment of people. Mr. Speaker, we inherited a public service commission that this government appointed months before they called elections. And you have to understand what we inherited, you know, Mr. Speaker. Because at the end of the day, look at the situation. They passed a budget in April. They called elections in June. We didn't make no fuss. The Prime Minister came and managed a budget that they passed better than they could have ever done themselves. And we had growth.
So results.
We had growth. So in essence, the Prime Minister has not presided over free budgets in his term in office. He presided over one of your budgets. When they came into office in 1997, what did they do? As soon as they came in, they went and they passed a supplementary budget. You forget that? You wasn't there? We showed you that what you could not do with your own budget, that this Prime Minister, who's a much better Minister of Finance than anybody on this side of the house, use your own budget and do what you could not do with it. That is what leadership is about. That is what leadership is about. And so, you keep on attacking the Prime Minister. So you're not satisfied with the market step politics. You're not satisfied with the protest march. So you come to this honorable house to bring the house into disrepute over ill-fated allegations, things that cannot be substantiated, that will go down in the records. That's the history that is being. That's the historical part of this. That is what is the history. So, Mr. Speaker, what we should have in this Honorable House today is a counter motion of no confidence in the leader of the opposition for bringing something like this to this Honorable House. That is what we should do. But you see, for all his years in the politics, that's all he could accumulate. So, collective responsibility is what this government is about. Nothing burns me. When I was in opposition, I sat in opposition for 5 years. I did what I had to do in opposition, and that is why I am in government today. Look at where you are. But you're not happy with where you are. You cannot, Mr. Speaker, through you. The leader of the opposition, because they give him a try. They give him a try as leader. You didn't hear what the member for Central Castries said? Labour Party is still looking for a leader. The member for Castries South, he's talking about who we should support on this side. I asked him who he's supporting. He doesn't know who he's supporting. He doesn't know if he's supporting you. He doesn't know if he's supporting himself. He doesn't know if he's supporting the member for Beaufort South. He really doesn't know who he's supporting. But you want to come and tell members on this side. And you know, you want to play cheap psychological politics on the minds of people. If we want this, let me tell you, even if all what you said there about Alan Chasney was true, he is still a better prime minister than the prime minister you have had on this side of the house for the last 15 years. Because the records show that your performance has been dismal. 3 years of negative growth. And you want me to continue debating? I have the cabinet conclusion on the STEP program, not the STEP program, the NICE program. Cabinet considered a memorandum dated 30th April 2012, submitted by the Office of the Prime Minister, noted that the proposal for the establishment of the National Initiative to Create Employment, NICE, Cabinet also recommended the name change. And the attachment says that the project, the name of the project, the title, the job opportunities, and the period of time, 36 months. 36 months. And these men that we, Mr. Speaker, that expect us to regard them as honorable, knowing that there is a cabinet conclusion, the only person I single out with due respect on this is the honorable member for Beaufort South. Because he came in this, I have heard him said that it was a free air program. Because he was the prime minister and he knows that this was a free air program with an end date. So you telling me that because you initiated the program that a new government coming in, now let me tell you what this government has done. When you want to understand, I can tell you the names of the people with private businesses who benefited from the NICE program. I can tell you all of them who had people working for them for a year, 2 years, and 3 years under the NICE program. And the day the NICE program ended, they sent all the employees home. But I've chosen not to mention the names of persons in this house, because I don't say one thing when it's convenient and go and do something else when it's convenient. So I refrain from doing so. but I know them. I know their political affiliations. I know the people who are working for them. Under the United Workers' Party government, under the same nice program, Mr. Speaker, they talk about victimization. There were about 40 caregivers in my constituency. Only 2 or 3 of them was from Castries Southeast, the second largest constituency in the island. So they could not find people. And today, I have about 45 people working under the caregivers program, and they are from the constituency of Castries Southeast, because that is what they elected me to represent their interests, first and foremost, in the Parliament of St. Lucia. But you see, Mr. Speaker, I was in opposition, so I was squeezed. I was punished for being in opposition. I was victimized to the core, to the point where the leader, the Prime Minister, said he's going to do whatever it takes to see to it that I'm not in this honorable house. And check where he's sitting today, and check where I am. We're not God. None of us here is God. Only God is God. Only God is God. So we are not the ones who decide what the fate of persons are going to be, and the resources of the country were used to fight us. I self-righteous. The man who was saying he's self-righteous, what did he say? I don't even want to repeat what he said, Mr. Speaker. He said, where something. So I'd rather not say it. But these are the men who want people to respect them. And when it's convenient, when they lose their cool because they cannot deal with being in opposition, nobody in opposition took more blows than me. You only get nothing here. But I'm here. And I don't murmur and complain. And I have a Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, in closing. Because I can go on the whole night, you know. If you want me to give you reasons why this Prime Minister is the best Prime Minister St. Lucia has had in a long time. And look at this thing. He said, the member for Castries South was asked a question. He always talking about this show and that show. They asked him, who are the persons who are prime ministers on this side? How many names you gave? Oh. So at least they have 2 on this side apart from the present Prime Minister. And I've always said it, and I'm on record as saying that anybody on this side of the house can be a better Prime Minister than everybody on this side put together. Because we are workers. That is what we are. And we have the benefit of experience on our side. Because the Prime Minister has a gentleman sitting next to him who gives good counsel. That's what you're jealous of. Let me tell you. Mr. Speaker, through you. Mr. Speaker, what they don't understand about this United Workers' Party is we don't have to pretend that we get along with each other. When we come to this honorable house, we don't have to have a meeting the week before for the people to tell us, look here, you're not behaving yourself well in Parliament as if you're getting together well with each other. Which is what they told them on this side. And when they came to the house, they sat together, they posing, taking pictures, they're pretending. There are genuine relationships on this side, and we get along with each other, and when we have to quarrel with each other, we quarrel with each other. But nobody gets vexed with each other on this side of the house.
If we get vexed, we make up.
The member for Castries North can speak for himself. You don't have to speak for him. So, Mr. Speaker, we are in this honorable house today. And I say that I totally reject everything that is in this no confidence motion. And I will give the member for Castries East a little bit of advice. The next time you want to write a motion, find somebody who knows about writing motions for you. I know who wrote the motion, you know, but I will not say. Those who pretend that they are the Parliament of St. Lucia, and the documents that should be in the Parliament find itself at their homes. That's as much as I will say. But I want to tell you, I want to tell the honorable leader of the opposition that what you have presented to this honorable house is less than honorable. And it is something that will go down in the records, in the history, as the worst resolution to have made it to the Parliament of this country. And Mr. Speaker, I pledge my unconditional support to the Prime Minister, Alan Shastney, and leader of the United Workers' Party. I thank you.